Well, the Big Ten taking center stage once again on Saturday. USC traveling to Eugene to see Oregon in Week 13. There are massive CFP implications on the line between these two. The winner will be sitting very pretty when it comes to a postseason bid, while the loser will likely be moving on the outside looking in. We can expect the offense could be the theme on both sides. At least has been the story the past couple years since 2022. Take a look for yourself at the numbers. Oregon there checking just under 40 points per game at 39.2, and USC not too far, right behind Tennessee at 37.9. By the way, those point totals are under the head coaches that we will see on Saturday under Lanning and also Riley. So we'll see how that pans out there. All right, joining me now, Gary Danielson, who will be joining Brad Nessel on the call in this game on Saturday. And the good news for you and also Brad and Jenny, the early forecast is showing that the mid-temps will be in the 50s. Cloudy skies, no rain. I know you guys had that pretty much this season, but chances we see the offense is taking advantage of the good weather.
Yeah, let me call Jenny. She's the one that's going to want to know most about this. Yeah, I think both teams, I think us as a TV network, and I think the viewers want to see a clean game, better team win, and the weather sometimes equalizes it. I think it did Wisconsin a little bit, maybe in the Iowa game for, the Oregon going there. That was a battle, but hey, clean game. Let's see what these teams have. I think both coaches who've built their programs for a game just like this love this opportunity. The way they built their teams to be able to face off against each other in a fantastic game here for the Big Ten.
We're talking about that Ducks offense. Of course, it starts and moves with Dante Moore, what he's done this year. He was a Heisman favorite at one point, midseason dip there, but last week, I should say, maybe one of his best games of the year. How would he look, or what are you looking forward to see from him on Saturday?
I got to always be careful here about, with this, particularly in my stage of my career, comparing him to different players because I reach back in my memory. But he's so cool. I mean, he's so relaxed. He uses his tools very, importantly. He understands who he is, delivers the ball. He doesn't try to do too much. He's a great leader. Kind of reminds me of that Joe Montana, other side of the pillow cool, and that's the way he plays in these games. And if he has his weapons, he gets Kenyon Sadiq back. We'll look at what happens with Dante Moore, his outstanding wide receiver to the outside. He really lost those guys when he played against Iowa, and that's why that finish of the game, the way he finished. But everything turned for this Oregon team and Dante, and that shock of that IU game. They did not play their best game. IU out-physicaled them, and it really wasn't until the Iowa game, that Oregon had a chance to prove themselves that they were tough enough to finish this thing off, and I think they feel good about themselves right now.
When you look at it on the opposite side with Jaden Maiava, let's just say he's entering the Big Ten, the passing leader, his connection there when he gets this receiver. And you talk about Makai Lemon and what they've done so far. They have been key for the Trojans, but how important will those two be to pull off an upset here?
Yeah, Brendan, this is really interesting because, everybody's been talking about all the great quarterback play, and sometimes Jaden Maiava gets overlooked, but not by me. Well, we had him even at UNLV before he transferred, and we saw the potential, and he is playing at an extremely high level right now. They need more than him and his two receivers and Lemon and Jacoby Lane, but they are enough. But they need to run the ball, and I think it's important if they could get Waymon Jordan back. He rushed for close to 100 yards in that road game against Illinois. They need that running game. They need a little bit more balance, but I'm telling you, Jaden Maiava has pro scouts drooling with his size and ability to throw the ball. He is a special quarterback, and when Lincoln Riley has a guy like that, he's going to produce yards. Now, we'll see if it's enough to match up against this Oregon team.
You talk about a smooth game there. I'm curious if you go deep into your bag of maybe who to remind you of. Who's the first person that comes to mind?
Jaden Maiava?
Yes.
Yeah, he has got a little bit of a Ben Roethlisberger feel to me. Big, strong, hangs in the pocket, effortless throwing all the time. He's able to control the ball, even pump fake with one hand, the way Ben used to do it. I'm giving away all my good stuff to you guys right now. I'm halfway into my work right here. But no, he's a special football player. I think he'll make a great pro quarterback.
Can't wait to see him at the next level, of course, but starting with Saturday. But for those who may not have seen Lemon so much this season as you have, how do you compare him to those like the Jeremiah Smiths at Ohio State, the Ryan Williams of Alabama, those guys that can, take the top off of anything? How do you compare him to those?
So Kirk Ferentz, the head coach of Iowa, does not throw around compliments, especially big compliments. He throws them around like manhole covers. But he said Makai Lemon might be as good a receiver as he's seen in his time at Iowa. And, there's been a lot of great ones in the Big Ten. He reminds me, by the way, of Chris Carter. You can throw the ball to him even when he's covered. He's really not covered. And he's that's a problem for defenses. If you put a guy on him and he's doing a good job, you still throw what other people think are 50-50 balls, and they might be 70-30 balls. And that's where the pressure point that USC will make is, how does Oregon cover Makai Lemon? And from there, they go kind of picking away from you in different areas. But, that's just half the game. The USC defense has to come across, but Makai Lemon is a special football player, no doubt about that.
So we've talked about the quarterbacks, the receivers there, but then we might get a great chess match between the coaches and Dan Lanning and Lincoln Riley, of course, but especially with CFP hopes on the line. What impresses you most about these two every Saturday when you see them on the field?
So there's no doubt that Dan Lanning's intensity, I mean, it's Kirby Smartish. The way he attacks his team, the way he's built this team, he knew that he got out physical in that IU game. It was almost somewhat not just shocking, but almost embarrassing. And they really didn't have a chance to prove their toughness until they got back in that Iowa game, that they had to win it in a physical football game. They took it back to the Iowa run defense. They ran it. And I really think that's the key to the football game right here. When USC went on the road and played Notre Dame, Notre Dame rushed for almost 300 yards, 44 carries. And I think that's what Lincoln Riley has to challenge his defense. Can we stay in the game? Can we make this a game where we're at least on even footing? Because if Oregon bangs the ball for rushing and have that passing game, it's going to be a long day for USC.
By the way, Lanning maybe a little leg up, won the last matchup between the two in 2023. But when you talk about it, he may have a little ace in the hole with home field advantage. You think about the crowd there, Autzen as a whole. What does it mean in terms of how this will impact this game for both sides?
So you have to be tough-minded if you're going to go into Oregon and play a football game. And IU was. You could tell, even though Oregon came back with a pick six late in that game, Fernando Mendoza just took them right down the field. So, yes, the crowd is a factor if you let them be. But you have to be, if you're going to win a championship, if you're going to get in the playoffs, you got to win a game like this. Obviously, USC losing this game, they are out. Oregon wins it, they are going to be in the playoffs. It's got a lot at stake here. And you as a program cannot allow that loud, strong home field advantage to be the difference. And I think USC and Lincoln Riley must address that going into the football game.
We see it right here, the fifth most intimidating stadium in college football. So we'll see how that pans out for USC and Oregon on Saturday. And you, of course, enjoy the good weather. Appreciate it as always.
Sounds good.
Exactly. Gary Danielson tapping in before Saturday. But speaking of this game, taking a look at some of those top prospects as we head towards Saturday. Look, we talked about the QBs and receivers, but this is loaded with talent that we might see on Sundays. We talked about the limits of the world. How about Bear Alexander, the big D lineman there that has been plugging holes there for the Ducks on the D line? So many more. Can't wait to see it on Saturday on CBS in the Big Ten.